Today's Tuesday, which means that's time, of course, for another live Q&A all about eBay and Amazon dropshipping. For all of you who are here live, thank you so much for joining me. And of course, ask any questions you have inside the live chat, and I'll answer them for you right now. Otherwise, if you're watching this on repeat, no worries. Just leave your question in the comment section of any of my videos. I'll answer them during my next live chat. I do them every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss that. So the first thing I want to talk about was a suggestion that a lot of you guys made last week. You guys kind of wanted to know, I was talking about some stuff and you said, what is that? What is Zeek? What is Chili Hunter? So I thought it would be very useful to go over some just basic terminology about eBay dropshipping. If you're unfamiliar with it, if you're just new to this whole new world and all these new terms flying around, maybe a little confusing. So just real quick, I'll go over a lot of these different terms to try and make it easier. And to start out, I'm going to share my screen here so I can give you examples of everything that I'm talking about. So here I am on eBay. And of course, we're talking here about very often about eBay dropshipping, which is selling products on eBay. So this is obviously eBay. For those of you who don't know, there is a 15% off everything sale happening today. So hopefully a lot of you guys like myself are seeing some great sales, sales numbers today because of this coupon. So eBay does this periodically. So if we're talking about coupons on eBay, this is what we're talking about. So it's a good example. Now, currently, the way eBay is set up, in order to get paid, in order for someone to buy something from you, they go through PayPal, which is just a payment processing company. It's just integrated with eBay, sort of, but it is an outside company. So the two work in conjunction with each other. But slowly, eBay is moving away from PayPal. But for right now, as of the making of this video, just know that in order to sell on eBay, you have to set up a PayPal account. Now, we do on this channel, what we talk about is drop shipping. And drop shipping is a model where you sell items that you don't actually hold stock for. You don't actually hold the inventory. So when someone buys the item from you, then you turn around and buy the item from your source. And then you ship that item, instead of to your home, you ship it directly to the customer. So for instance, a good source that a lot of people use is Walmart.com, which I have right here. So in other words, you sell Walmart items in your eBay store. Then once the item sells, you buy from Walmart and ship it to your customer. And in that situation, eBay is your source. And your source can be any other online retailer, such as Home Depot, Amazon, Overstock.com, all these different websites. Any website that you can buy an item from for yourself, you can drop ship from, and that is your source. Now, another thing that we talk about is when you buy an item from your source, you always want to make sure that you're using a cashback website. And a cashback website is just a website that lets you get a little bit of extra money back every time you shop through that website. So the best way to explain this is with an example. A great resource is cashbackmonitor.com because this shows you all the different cashback websites. So let's stick with the example we had, Walmart. So I'll search in Cashback Monitor. Then here's Walmart, so I'll click on that. And this is showing us a whole bunch of different cashback websites. So let's look at this one called You Promise. This is one I've used in the past. And this is their website. And I'm going to search in here for Walmart. And here it is. Now, once you set up your account, all you have to do is click this button that says Shop Now. This will then bring you to Walmart. It will look exactly the same as it does right here. You find the item you want to buy, you buy it. But because you went through this link, you're going to get up to 5% cash back just for clicking on this button first. So that's what we mean by cash back. And when we talk about websites like You Promise, Simply Best Coupon, Giving Assistant, Be Frugal, Ebates, here's Giving Assistant, Top Cashbacks, another popular one. Ebates is a popular one. This is what we're talking about, these types of cashback websites. Now, another kind of terminology we talk about are listing softwares. So I talked about how you take an item from Walmart and you list it into your eBay store. And when I say list it, I just mean you're going to actually create a product on eBay so that your customer can find it and then buy it from you. But how do you do that? Well, the way you do that is with a listing software. And there are so many out there. The one that I'm using now is called DSM Tool. This is what it looks like on the back end of it. And basically you can come over here where it says Rapid Lister and put in, it's very simple. You just put in the link to Walmart here and it will quickly list the item onto eBay for you. So if you're interested in this one, I do have an affiliate link to this underneath this video. And when I say an affiliate link, it doesn't cost you guys anything extra to use it. But if you do go through that link, I get a small kickback for it, just for referring you to it. But it doesn't cost you guys anything extra to use that one. But DSM Tool is definitely not the only one out there. There are a whole lot. This is another popular one called Web Seller Guru. This is another one called AutoDS Tool. I just actually met the owners of this software here in New York City, and we hung out for a little bit. They're really cool guys, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this software moving forward, so I'll be making some videos about that. And this is another one called Hustle Got Real. This one's called Dropship Beast. So if you hear us talking about any of these, using the word Relister or Dropship Beast, Hustle Got Real, AutoDS, Web Seller Guru, DSM Tool, this is what we're talking about, these softwares that allow us to list quickly onto eBay. Now, the last kind of terminology I want to talk about is our product research tools. So we have websites like Zeek Analytics and Chili Hunter. These are two very popular ones. So if you ever hear us talking about those, this software just allows us to quickly find profitable items that are selling well on eBay, and so that we can sell those items ourselves. So if you hear us talking about those, that's what we're talking about. But let me see if you guys have any questions about what I just talked about, or anything else really about eBay or Amazon dropshipping. I'm happy to answer the questions for you guys, people who are here in the live chat. So let's use here, I'm gonna open up the live chat. And okay. So let's see, we have Julio here from North Miami Beach. I hope it's not brutally hot there. I'm in New York City and it's 100 degrees here today, so I can't imagine how Florida is. Let's see if anyone has any questions. Lots of people here, so everyone's saying Taco Tuesday. Thomas is here from Florida as well. Rich is asking if he was late. Probably not late. I ran into a couple of little technical glitches in the beginning, so it started a little slow. Dropship Tyler says, dropped a $15 super chat, said, best $15 I've ever spent. Keep up the good work, Paul. Thanks, Tyler. I appreciate the little bonus tip there. Tyler and I are buddies. We started talking, I guess a few months after we both started to dropship. So we kind of formed a little mastermind with me, him, and Ecom J, if you know him on YouTube. So both of those guys are really great guys. You want to check out their YouTube channels. That was not a paid endorsement though from Dropship Tyler. Let's see. Okay, so I had a question this week from, I gotta log in to see my questions here. One second. Okay, so I had a question from Edwin. So Edwin is one of my students, and Edwin said that a buyer purchased an item from him, and he used Walmart as his source, and it was shipped, but it arrived damaged. But instead of selecting that the item arrived damaged, the buyer said the item was not received and is now demanding a refund. They don't want to return the item. So what should Edwin do? That's kind of what Edwin wants to know. So there's a lot of variations here, or a lot of variables here. If the item is super, super cheap, or even on the cheaper end, that kind of gives you more options, because then you can decide, well, do I just want to refund them and just let it go like that? Or if it's more expensive, that possibility doesn't really exist. You might want to say, can I give you a partial refund, and you keep it as damaged. Now, if this is a more expensive item, and I did follow up with Edwin, so I do know this is a more expensive item, well, in that case, you're going to have to get the buyer to return the item first. And if they are giving you a hard time about saying, no, I'm not going to return it because you shipped me the wrong item, well, eBay is going to require them to return it in order to get a refund. Now, even though that is the rule, they still have the right to leave you a negative feedback because you shipped them the wrong item. So that's just something you want to keep in mind. So moving through the negotiation, so to speak, you want to be very respectful. You want to try to accommodate them. Say, this doesn't normally happen. I'm really sorry about this. We're looking into what happened. It sounds like UPS might have damaged it in transit, but we're doing everything we can to make sure it doesn't happen again. How can we make this right? We do need the item back, but can we give you a discount on the item when we ship you out a new one? Or just how can we make this right? But just know that the buyer is required to ship it back to get the refund. So Thomas is asking me, hey, Paul, when you're listing items onto eBay, how do you or your virtual assistants make sure that you don't relist items that you previously delisted because they weren't selling well? So that's a great question, Thomas. So what Thomas is talking about is, I list an item up. Let's say after a month or 2 months, depending on the circumstances, it's just not selling anymore, or it hasn't ever sold at all. So I delete it from my store. Now, how do we prevent it so we don't list it again? Well, I don't really think that's not something we keep track of, and it's not something I'm worried about, and it's something I've thought about, and I've made the strategic decision not to worry about it. And the reason for that is, if I list it and it doesn't sell and I delete it, and now it comes back up in the product research, then that's telling me that it's still a good item to list. And maybe this time when we list it, we're going to give it better keywords, or it might just be a better timing. And when it gets into the store now, maybe this time it will start selling. And if it doesn't sell, we'll just delete it again. So I've thought about this, and I think strategically, it's still worth it to list it up again. Okay. Let's see. Just lost my spot in all the questions. We got Glenn here from West Virginia, Sue from upstate. Okay. Trying to find some questions in here. So Imperial Dropship says he's 3 weeks in. So first, thanks for the super chat. Says, I'm 3 weeks in. My impressions and views and sales dropped 75% on 500 listings. Why is that? It's hard to really say without really knowing a lot about your account. There could be a ton of different reasons for this. It doesn't sound like this is the issue, but one reason it could be is if you somehow get bad metrics or there's something wrong with your account, that could cause the drop. But if your account is all fine, then what we have been kind of discovering is that eBay kind of cycles impressions and views. They give more to some people during some periods, and then they cycle through and give more to other people later. It's just kind of what we've been noticing with different accounts. The other thing that we've noticed is that whenever eBay makes any sort of change to their system, and it doesn't matter what the change is, they mess things up and their impressions get all whacked out, and then things kind of level off and return to normal. Right now, eBay is going through a lot of changes with their system. And as they do that, things go out of whack because they don't really have the system in place to really make a good, consistent experience, is what I've been finding, unfortunately. So that's probably what's happening. But also make sure to check your metrics, because that could be a reason as well. Okay, good question here. How do you prevent customers from going straight to opening a case instead of just messaging you if there's a problem? Seems like it happens a lot. Do you have thoughts on that? Yeah, so this is a bit difficult. So in other words, you might get an item not received case or a return case, and ideally the customer will message you first so that you can resolve it without getting anything on your account saying you have an item not received case or return case. And moving forward, especially these item not as described cases are going to impact your fees potentially. So you want to avoid as many of those item not as described cases as you can. So how do you go about doing this? Well, it's all about the customer service on the front end, right? So you can set things up with different software to automatically send out messages to customers as soon as the order is placed, as soon as the item ships out. And with some suppliers, like if you're using Amazon, you can get a message sent to the customer as soon as the item is delivered. And actually what I use for that is TrackerBot, which is one of the terminologies I forgot to go over. But TrackerBot is a software that automatically uploads tracking numbers to eBay for you. It saves you a lot of time. And then the other great thing about that is that it has an automatic messaging system for your customers built in. And again, I have an affiliate link to that one in the description underneath this video. But the great thing about these messages is in those messages, you could say stuff like, hey, the item is on its way. If there's any problems, send us a message before you open up a case. We promise we're going to make things right. Send us a message before you leave negative feedback. We promise we'll make it right for you. Messages like that help, but people still open the cases anyway. So I haven't found like a way to get it 100% of the time. I don't think there really is, but those messages will definitely help you out a lot. Okay. Okay, so Ichini Gaming Vlogs has a question about Home Depot, because as a lot of you guys know, I use Home Depot a lot as one of my sources. So one thing I've talked about on this channel is that I don't have a Home Depot account that I use. I always use guest checkout. And the only reason for that is because I have found that if I use my account, it will automatically sometimes change my buyer's shipping address, and it will change it to my billing address. And it does it in a way so I don't notice it. I can't see it. So it kind of messes things up. So that's why we always do guest checkout. And I know people have had the same problem and have found workarounds to it, but I've tried them all. And for whatever reason, for me, it doesn't work. And I'm fine doing guest checkout. So that's what we do. So how do I keep track of all my orders if I'm using just a guest checkout? It's really not an issue because I just kind of use Gmail as a filing system. Gmail has all my order confirmation numbers. It has all my tracking numbers for Home Depot. So it's all in Gmail. So that's really what I use. I could search for a buyer's shipping address and it comes up right in Gmail right there. So I had another question this week from one of my students, Rudy. Rudy had a great customer service issue that I thought was a little bit funny. So what happened was the customer bought an item and the item was shipped out. And then the customer complained saying, this item shipped out too early. I want a later delivery date. What should I do here? So this is a bit ironic because most people want the item quicker, but it sounds like this person was moving and then wanted the item to be delivered to the new home instead of the old home. So what should you do in this situation? Well, eBay is going to side with you. eBay isn't going to hold you accountable if the item ships out and arrives too early. So you've already shipped out the item, it's on its way. You can, of course, you want to contact the customer and give great customer service. Say, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. The delivery date on the listing is just a general range, and the item can always arrive earlier. If you don't want this item, just refuse delivery of it, and it will be returned back to us, and you can reorder it once you arrive in your new home. Something like that. Yeah, but if they do give you any issues with it, eBay should side with you on this, even if they leave you negative feedback for delivery that was too early. I bet if you find the right representative, they will delete that negative review, because it's just kind of stupid, right? Doesn't really make any sense. So let's see if there's any more questions here in the live chat before I kind of make an announcement. Okay, so I'm gonna make a quick announcement because I've finished putting together a kind of a free mini course for anyone who's interested in eBay dropshipping, brand new to it, don't know much about it. So that's the second link in the description of this video, the second link underneath this video. It's this free 4-day mini course I put together. If you're currently one of my students, you're not gonna find it helpful because everything inside the mini course is obviously inside my Dropshipping Titans course. But if you're brand new to eBay dropshipping, you've never taken a course, and you kind of want a good general information about, and even more specific information about what eBay dropshipping is and how to do it and how to run your own eBay dropshipping business, I do have that free mini course. That's the second link in the description if you guys want to check that one out. And you don't even need your credit card information. You just sign up, you give your email so that you can, because it's you have to log in. But besides that, you're not going to pay anything for it. Okay. So let's see. Somebody asked me if on eBay you should have a general store or if you should niche down into like a niche store. So for eBay dropshipping, there's definitely no reason you shouldn't have a more general store. A niche store is one that sells just a very specific item. So you might find a store that sells only kitchenware, for instance. And it might even be more specific than that. It might be a store that sells only like chopping blocks, for instance. And that works really well for like a Shopify store. Like if you have your own branded website, because you want people, anyone who's shopping for chopping blocks, to come to your site. You're gonna have all the chopping blocks available and they can buy one from you. But with eBay, people don't really come to your store on eBay very often. They come to eBay, they go to the search bar, they type in what they want, and they don't care so much about who's selling it. Obviously, a lot of buyers do look at feedback, but they're not going to go into your store and say, hey, I'm looking for like a chopping block, but this person also sells electronics, they sell home goods, they sell sporting goods. Like, I want a store that's more specific for chopping blocks. No, they don't really care. They just see that, oh, here's a chopping block. It's the one I want. It looks nice. It's good price. And this person has good feedback. I'm going to buy it, right? So that's why it's really great that you can, you don't have to niche down. The other great benefit of not niching down is that it doesn't get you don't get stuck in something, right? Like when I had a Shopify store, I set up a whole store, a whole website for this very specific product, and it didn't do well. And then I couldn't use that website for anything else. I couldn't start selling fishing gear on this website where I was selling kitchen gear, stuff. So, so once that niche didn't work, that was it for me. But with eBay, if you're trying to sell kitchen items and they don't sell, well, then try to sell sporting goods, and maybe those ones do sell. So you see, you don't really get stuck in a niche that doesn't work. And as the year goes on, you'll see that some items are more popular during some different times of the year. And that's another great thing about eBay is you could sell all those different items throughout the year. All right. Yeah, so Phil's asking, can you pay with a cashback credit card and earn more? Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to using those cashback websites, you can also use a cashback credit card when you go through the checkout process, and you can get as much as most cases 2%. In some cases, you can get even higher. I saw one recently that I never actually used. I think it went up to 3%. One of the cashback websites, and I'm blanking, I'm not entirely sure which one it is. You can actually get a credit card through the cashback website. And if you use the credit card and go through the cashback website, you get an extra 3% back. I'm not positive which one that was, though. And I talked to someone who had it, and unfortunately, they got a really low credit limit with it, which is a problem because as dropshippers, we have high volume. So you do want a higher a higher credit limit with your credit card. Yes, Phil says it's Ebates. I think you're right, Phil. I think it is the Ebates credit card. And Conley is confirming, yes. So if you're interested in that, check out the Ebates credit card. Like I said, I never used it, but I think it's helping a lot of people. I mean, I think it has a potential to be really good as long as you get the high limit on it. Okay. So Jody asked me a question. Actually, I had another question. Is there really a benefit of using one of these cashback websites over the other? The only benefit, well, if you go to that website, Cashback Monitor, you're going to see which one's paying you out the most. And in general, you want to go for the one that does have the highest percentage. But there's a couple of little catches here. One, you have to look at the terms and service of each of the cashback websites, because even though one might say, oh, you're going to get 11% cash back, when you go into the terms and service, the terms of service, sorry if I said that wrong, you'll see that you might get 11% in like one obscure category of items, but really for the rest of them, you're only getting 1% back. So that's something to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is that some of these cashback websites just work better than others. And that's really varies from person to person. Like for myself, I know that Simply Best Coupon and Giving Assistant work the best for me. But for other people, I know that they swear by Ebates, or other people swear by You Promise. So it's really up to whatever one's working the best for you. And you can keep track of it when you're using it to make sure that's actually registering and giving you the money that you are supposed to be getting. So Kevin is asking a question about Amazon dropshipping. Kevin says, is my Amazon selling account, so the account that I dropship onto, completely different than the account that I buy stuff from? My Amazon account that I use for personal use and that I use to dropship from Amazon onto eBay. And yes, they are different accounts. They have different emails and different personal information. One's in my name, one's in my husband's name. So yeah, I did have a question from Jody, one of my students, and Jody was asking the difference between listing limits and free listings. So we're going to use as an example, let's say you get 1,000 free listings a month. But let's say your listing limit for the month is 2,000 items. So what's the difference there? What counts towards what? Well, every time, so for the 1,000 free listings, every time you put up a new item, so every item that you list is going to have an item number. It might be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. Every time you have a new one of those, it counts as one of your free listings. So you can have 1,000 different items and not pay any insertion fees. And that's going to count towards your 1,000 free listings. It doesn't matter if you have, if you have like 1,000 items and you have a quantity of 2 for all of them, it's still 1,000 items as counted towards your free listings. Now your listing limit is different. And people get these confused and try to understand the relationship between them. And I think the best way to think about it is to think about them completely separately. They're completely separate things. So your listing limit is how many items you can list and sell in a given month. So let's say your listing limit is 2,000 items. If you put up 1,000 items into your store, you have 1,000 items in your store, and you have them all at a quantity of 1, then you've used up 1,000 of your 2,000 listing limit, so half of it. But if you put the quantity of all those items at 2, now you've used up 2,000 out of your 2,000 listing limit, so 100%. So let's say, for example, you've only done a quantity of 1. So you have a listing limit of 2,000. You're using half of it. You have 1,000 items up and you have a quantity of 1. Now let's say that you sold 1 item and you're using good till canceled, which means as soon as it sells, it relists itself back to 1. So now you have 1,000 items still in your store, but you've sold 1. So now you've used 1,001 of your 2,000 listing limit. So you have to add those two together if that makes sense. I always think of them as 2 completely separate things, the free listings and the listing limits, because I've always found that when I try to explain them together, it's just kind of confusing. So I hope that cleared it up for you. Okay. And Sea Monkeys is asking about promoted listings. Says, do you have to have a store to do them? Yes, you need a store subscription to do promoted listings. And you should really get a store subscription anyway, because you do get the reduced fees if you use this, if you get a subscription. Okay. So if anyone has any more questions, happy to answer them. Kind of went through all the questions I had saved up from the week, but I know a lot of you guys who are on the live chat still have questions, so don't be shy and let me know what you're wondering about, and I'd be happy to help you. So Lewis is asking if I use social media to promote my eBay store or any items on eBay. And no, that's not really necessary with eBay, because eBay is doing a lot of the promotion for you. And because the margins are lower, it doesn't really make sense to do that. People usually use social media or paid advertising like that only if they have their own website. Because the last thing you want is to pay for someone to come to your eBay site or your eBay listing and then they see something else they want and go to someone else's listing and buy it from them instead. So that would be a big waste. So you don't want, I really advise against it. Jeremiah says, how can I get a Titan t-shirt? I don't have them for sale. I did make a bunch. This is one of them, but I wasn't crazy about the way it looked. I wanted to do a better designs, and then I never really got around to doing it. But maybe I'll try that again and try to get a better design going for the t-shirts. And I was going to do it for charity, just sell them and donate it to some charity. But if you guys want that, I will maybe find a designer to get a better design for those. Yeah, so Bobby is crossing the bridge here, trying to understand how listing limits and free listings interact with each other. So maybe I didn't do a great job thinking about it now. So let me try to clarify. If you have a listing limit of 2,000 and you have 1,000 free listings, does that 1,000 free listings, if you list 1,000 items and they're free, does that count towards your 2,000 listing limit? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So to make it easier to understand, let's say your listing limit is 10, but you get 5 free listings. So you list up those 5 items. It doesn't cost you anything to list them, but now you can only list 5 more items. It will cost you money to list these 5 more items, but you're allowed to do it. That's assuming you haven't sold anything and that your quantity for all of them is 1. Okay, so Rebecca's asking what you do with an out-of-stock item. So in other words, Rebecca, I'm assuming you mean someone buys the item from you, you go to Walmart and it's out of stock. What do you do? So the first thing we usually do is we look for the item somewhere else. Is it on Amazon? Is it on Overstock? Is it anywhere else that we can get it from? If not, we'll wait a day. We'll see if it comes back into stock. A lot of times it does. If it doesn't, you have a few choices. One, you could send them a message asking them to cancel the order, saying it's out of stock. Or 2, you can try to find them a similar item and say, hey, we can't ship you out this item, but we found this other one. Would you be interested in this one as well? And I don't encourage you to lose too much money if you do that, but it might be worth it to break even or even lose a little bit of money if it makes the customer happy. Okay. Damon is saying that he put in his email for the free class, but didn't receive a confirmation email. So I do know it's working because I've seen a lot of people joining it already, Damon. So if you haven't gotten the email, then there might be a chance that there was a typo in your email. So I would go back and try it again. Make sure that you enter your email incorrectly, because I get a lot of people actually who say that they joined and then they can't figure out their email. And then when we look into it, we see that there's a typo in there. So make sure that there is no issues with the typo, because I just saw someone join 3 minutes ago. So I do know it is working. And just trying to see if you joined it. No, I don't even see your name. So maybe there was an error. So I would try it again. So Millionaire Mills says, what advice can you give a new dropshipper who has funds pending on eBay? So in other words, when you start selling on eBay, you get put into PayPal jail, they call it. This is just a temporary probation period where they will hold your funds for about 3 months. Well, you go through this probation period for 3 months where they won't release the funds to you until the item has been marked as delivered. So you got to make sure tracking numbers are uploaded. After 3 months, they stop doing that. They start releasing the funds to you right away. So what do you do in the meantime? Well, you got to use a credit card to fulfill your orders or use your savings until the money is released to you. It's basically like you're loaning money to your company, and then you can get that money back as soon as the money is released. Rich is here, and Rich is saying Titans with 4 exclamation points. Yeah, I love that. I guess a lot of people want the Titans t-shirt. Rebecca would like one as well. John Williams is saying, skip the Yankee colors, black and gold works, go Steelers. I guess you mean for the t-shirt colors. I'm going to start a war between baseball teams in the live chat. Yeah, Jeremiah asked a great question. So sometimes eBay will run a little promotion. They'll send you a message and say, hey, we're giving you 500 extra free listings. But what happens next month? Well, next month you'll be charged for those unless you upgrade your plan. So just keep that in mind. I guess it's a little bit of a way for them to be a little sneaky there. But when I first started dropshipping, every time I got one of those emails, I took full advantage of it. I went in, listed a bunch more items, and made sure I never let a month go by where I didn't use up 100% of my free listings when I first started. No, I don't ship to Alaska because a lot of the sources don't. So I exclude it. And Ruben is saying, have I ever drop shipped from Sephora? No, I haven't. Don't know much about Sephora myself. It's hard for me to drop ship and from like women's clothing or Sephora, things like that, because I just don't know what everything is. And I was talking to like my buddy Steve Rakin. A lot of you guys might know him from over at Rake and Profit. Him and I talked briefly about this once, and he has a whole course about he flips items. So he goes to thrift stores, finds items, and then sells them on eBay. And he mostly sells men's clothes because that's what he understands. And he says he's never had luck really selling women's clothes too much for a while because he just didn't understand it. But now that he's in the game more, he's starting to understand it a lot more. He's like forcing himself to learn about it. But for a while, he had no frame of reference for it, which I totally get. I can't sell something like makeup because I don't know what I'm selling. You know what I mean? Okay. Dan O'Might says, Paul, I purchased your course last week and I can't wait to learn your ways, Yoda. Like that, the Yoda of dropshipping. I think actually someone stole that already, some Shopify dropshipper, but that's okay. So Lewis is asking if there's any new suppliers I've been testing. Spoiler, there might be. And I'm making a video. I made a video. It's going to be released Thursday of this week. So if you want to make sure you don't miss that video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And that will be released Thursday. I'll start to talk about that. And I'll be talking more about it as the coming weeks arrive, as the weeks start coming by. So people keep asking about these other sources like Zulily. I've never heard of Zulily, to be honest. Pretty much any online retailer can be used to dropship from potentially, but you got to test it out yourself, see if they're dropship friendly, which I do a lot on this channel. Well, I haven't really done it a ton, but I'm going to start doing it, start trying new suppliers and showing you the whole experience and what I look for in a potential new dropshipping source. So just try ordering something and having it shipped to yourself and see what the experience is like, as if you were the buyer in that situation. And then the other challenge after that is figuring out, okay, is there a repricer and lister that would work with this? Or do I want to go the manual route? Especially in the beginning, I would avoid these more like outlying retailers and stick with like the main ones, Home Depot, Amazon, Walmart. Even Overstock is great. Those are like the main ones and that a lot of repricers work with. But you can start to branch out later as you want to experiment more. So Greg is asking kind of the difference between an LLC and a sole proprietorship. What should you do? So everyone's situation is different. And that's why I really can't give legal advice on this. And this is just general information. And, for legal reasons, I can't give legal advice here. So this is just general information about the difference between LLC and a sole proprietorship. Very basic differences between the two of them. There's obviously a lot more to this, and it's a lot more complicated than I can explain just right now. But sole proprietor is you, if you've never officially started a business or registered a business with your state or incorporated, never done anything like that, you just start selling on eBay. If you just start a lemonade stand, you're a sole proprietor right there. Where an LLC comes in, that's when you go to your state and say, hey, I'm a business, like I'm starting a business and I want to register with my state and actually form a corporation or a limited liability company under the laws of your state. And each state has different laws designating how you can form an LLC or a corporation. And there's benefits to doing that. But again, that's different for every state. There are some tax benefits a lot of times. There are some liability benefits a lot of times. In other words, if you're operating as your company, the LLC, then if something goes wrong and there's a lawsuit involved, then they're going to be suing the LLC, not you, if everything is done correctly. And again, that depends on the state. Whereas with a sole proprietorship, if you do something wrong and let's say there's something wrong with your lemonade and someone sues you for that, they're suing you. They're not going to sue a company because there is no company. The sole proprietorship is you. So that's why people do it. Most people start with the sole proprietorship and then wait as time goes on and business starts to do really well. Then they start to say, hey, this is working. Maybe I should think about actually forming a legal entity with my state. And at that point, they look into forming a corporation or an LLC. Phil is saying, I love the course. I want more. Give me more modules because I love it so much. Thank you, Phil. I really appreciate that. David is saying, does anyone ever have a problem drop shipping from Amazon using Prime? In the past, I've heard of people having problems with it, but it hasn't happened in a long time from what I'm gathering, because not anyone has really said that they've had a problem more recently drop shipping using. And Connie's, thank you, Connie, because remember in the beginning of the video, I talked about a whole bunch of different listing softwares. That wasn't even a full list. There's other ones like PriceFox, Blacklister. Those are two that I forgot, which I know a lot of people use. That is interesting. So Luxury Card Store says that on Mark's channel, a subscriber left a comment saying that Walmart hadn't shipped out their order, even though it was 5 days old. And then someone from Walmart's channel answered and said they would fix it. I'm not sure. That sounds so strange to me. Because usually what happens if they take too long to ship an item, there's a good chance that the item was actually canceled. And they just take a few days usually to cancel you. But so that's usually what happens. I'm curious if I look up this, if it will show me on Mark's channel, but I'll do it later. It's not really important right now. Okay. We have about 5 minutes left. So if anyone has a question, now is a good time to ask it. If you've been shy and haven't asked a question, you can ask it now before it's too late. And Ruben's saying, if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I do appreciate that, Ruben, because it's something I always forget about. So yeah, if you guys have liked this video so far, got some value out of it, if I answer your question or a question you had, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. There's 147 of you guys watching, 39 thumbs up. And the more thumbs up we get, the more this video gets out there into more people's devices so that they can watch and learn from this as well. And then more people can ask more questions, which might help you guys out as well. So Drago Cow says, how do you recover from negative feedback? It's a great question. So what you can do is first you want to try to get as much of the negative feedback removed as you can. So there's a ton of different ways to do this depending on the circumstances. So you want to look into doing that. And then just keep providing great customer service, or start providing great customer service so that those negative reviews that you don't get removed get buried. The more positive you get, even if you have some negative, you're still going to be at 99% positive feedback or higher, even if you start getting some negative reviews. And thank you, Paul, the other Paul L, for the $9.99 super chat. He says, thanks for the course, Paul. I regret not signing up earlier. Going through the modules over and over again, tuition fee was for you. This super chat is, of course, for the four-legged Titan over there. The other Paul L is talking about the little puppy Orlando. Unfortunately, we had to bring him to the vet today. One of his claws kind of got ripped off and it was hanging, one of his nails, and he was in a lot of pain. So we brought him over to the doggy hospital and they took care of him, and they gave him lots of treats over there. So they took good care of him. So he definitely deserves a new bone and a new treat after the traumatic day he had today. But he's in high spirits. Whenever he gets back from the vet, we bring him home and we put him down and he just runs around. He's just so happy to be home because he hates going to the vet so much. All right. So thanks everyone for the great questions and for the nice words about the puppy. Appreciate that. And if anyone has any questions they want answered next week, make sure to ask them inside the comment section of any of my videos. If you haven't given a thumbs up already, I would appreciate that. Make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss the next live chat or any of the videos I make. Again, I'm going to be making a video this week about a new supplier I'm testing out. And I'll be making actually a kind of a video series about a bunch of them. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Again, I have that free mini course. That is the second link. Or if you guys are serious about this and want to jump right into it and learn everything, then I do have the full Titans course, and that's the first link in the description below. But thanks guys so much. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time at 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday night here on the YouTube channel.